All right. So I believe this is week 15 of Promeneo. Yep, there's my coding assignment right there. Where did it go? Come back up. Open up for me. I am not a professional streamer. um, so I believe the requirements for this week were to create um, a come on, there we go. A CRUD application that was integrating in an API that you could perform the basic CRUD applications on. I think the only requirements were that you were supposed to be able to consume the API and then perform those operations on it. I made this a full stack application again because I figured, I'm already doing it, so I might as well do it again. The app is also an extension of a front end mentor challenge as well. For your reference, it's this one right here. It's where I got the design from, so that's what I'm doing. So what the app enables the user to do is, first of all, they're able to log in. I do that with next.auth, which is a package that's, comes with next.js. It's a React framework. And I use login with Google in this case so that users can, log in with Google, and that essentially allows me to connect my backend database, which I have used Prisma to basically serve as the ORM to be able to map my data to my database for me directly from my app. And I'll show you how that works. Two different users. There is a user model. Bear with it while it fetches the users. On that user, they have a list value. That list is essentially a reference to another table. It's an array of another table that contains a series of data that I receive from the API, from the GitHub API. Users can create lists, they can add to the list, they can delete the list, and they can even update the name in the I believe it's the name in the description of the list. I'll have to check, though. I don't remember if I implemented the description. I decided to keep the front page very simple because I didn't have a lot of time for it. I wanted to get started on my main project. So let's go ahead and log in. Whoops. Log in as Travis. It is deployed on Vercel, so if you want to try the live site, you're more than welcome to do so. Users can search the GitHub user API. If they don't find one, they search for one. If they don't find one, they'll get a no results. By the way, the GitHub API is ridiculously fast, like super fast. It's kind of ridiculous. But if they do happen to search cat and they actually get a result, it actually puts that data into the card that displays on the page. And allows them to access specific information. They can access the blog of the page, which GitHub has its own blog. And they can, I believe, add it to a watch list of some sort. I kind of got the inspiration from Google Playlists. When you click on them and you click Save to Playlist, this is kind of where I got the idea from. They can either choose to add it to an existing list, like so. And they'll go over here and we'll click on Edit Lists. Right there it is. This is my test description with much longer text now that I want to see the effect. Let's see what happens when I make it longer and longer and longer and longer. That was my testing. They can choose to edit the list if they so choose. They can also choose to view what things are listed in the list. As you can see, I've already gone ahead and typed it, added one of my own, as well as the AutoCat to this, and then it'll pull in any data that's saved in your what's the word I'm looking for, in your GitHub profile. And I'll show you how I do that when I describe it. But you can choose to delete things from the list, and then you can also search for more. Say I wanted to add Man, I kind of wish I knew, actually, if Matt's the one's going to be grading this. Let's see if I follow him on here. Matt. There it is. Cool. Awesome. Let's grab Matt's, actually. Sorry, Matt. There you are. Machine 88. You can actually go in here. I can search via your GitHub profile. We'll search. It'll find you. You're a front-end developer. 38 repos. Good for you, Matt. That's awesome. That's super good. That's super good. I can choose to add you to a watch list. Let's call that list Promeneo. We'll add that list. It reloads, and we'll go over here to the edit list. You can see that Promeneo is in here. If I choose, I can change this to front-end mentors, right? And I can add my description. This is a list of the really cool mentors at Promeneo. You can choose submit. It will then update those lists like so. I can then go in here and view that. And yeah, I believe I can even, like, let's see who all Matt's following. Chris. I love Chris. Hang on. I kind of want to see his profile. I'm gonna drop him. I'm already following him. All right. So let's add him to the list, and we'll go in here. We'll go to search for more. He's not a mentor, but he works for Promeneo, and he's really cool. He's always active in the Discord. That's all of Matt's information. Whoa, you're out in Seattle, Washington. Dang, dude, you're super far away from me. We'll add you to the Promeneo front-end mentors. We'll click add to list. And then we'll go over and we'll look at the edit list. We'll click on not edit this one. And there you both are. It is also fully mobily responsive too. Let's make it small. Wait, come back. There it is. I don't want you to be like that. Yeah, so it's fully mobily responsive. It actually goes downward, scales down, and eventually goes to that screen. And yeah, it's built with Grid and Tailwind CSS. This component here is actually dynamically built as well. It pulls in the content from the user's profile. But yeah, so that is the actual functionality of the app. Getting into the details and the nitty-gritty of it. I'll keep the server stuff to your own like curiosity, just because this is a front-end boot camp. Just know that I have a couple of basic operations on here using TRPC that allows me to set, get, delete, and I believe even create lists and then update them as well. And then delete items from the lists as well. When that's all done via the backend like server folder in next.js. Just kind of going over the functionality that really matters here. I used Axios to connect up, to set up a GitHub request thing. Basically, to make a request for these users, you can create an Axios instance with a base URL of api.github.com/users. You're going to be receiving application JSON, and then I set up a couple of handlers. That's a different one. Yeah, it is. That the handler will take in a username, which is a string, and it appends it to the end of that string and runs a GET request off of that Axios instance. And then I have typed it so that I have type definitions when I run this request. And I return the data that comes back from this request. The reason why I'm not handling the error here is because the wrapper that I use for this, which is React Query, has error handling built in as well. So I just use that. Just as an example of how I implemented that, let me see if I can find it Handle add, that's not on that. I think it's, yeah. So I create a form using React hook form. And then I ignore the little TypeScript ignore stuff here. That's just because it doesn't like it when you put this in here like this, because handle submits a it returns a promise, I do believe, and the TypeScript compiler with the strict rules doesn't really like that, so I just ignored it. That way I could continue with the project. Add to list. So like if I wanted to add a list, I would type into this input new title, and then I'd click the add button, which handles add to list, which is a function that I call from another place. Let's go to, where is it? Find all references. There we go. Yep. Boop. Yeah. So the handle list is done with React query. And oh, this gets all my current lists. Where is? I think I just actually passed it down. I did a little props drilling, so shame on me. Bear with me just a minute while I dig through this bad boy and find it. Handle create list. Yeah, there it is. It's a use mutation. So this is all stuff that comes from the framework I'm using, which is called T3. It combines TRPC, Tailwind, and I forget the last one, but or it might be TanStack is the third one. Yeah, it might be TanStack. And it basically it wraps TRPC with React Query, so you can call directly from the API that you've created the list route. I want to create a list that and then it's wrapped in use mutation, which gives you the certain properties off of it. And there's a ton on React queries, like is error is one, is idle, is paused. It, like, the list goes on and on and on. Is fetching, nope. It might be anyways, yeah. So the list goes on and on about what it does, but it basically, it allows you to make queries and manage state on like one little thing. So it basically submits a certain amount of data to me. Say I want to add a list, I send the link and then the list ID. Using that list ID, I search through that list, I filter that list. If I go in here, click on, oh, it's in server. There it is. API inside of routers and list. Okay, so if I wanted to, which one was that one? Create a list. That's not the one I wanted to do. Add to list. That's odd. Where does this one come from? Add list, create list. Oh, set list item. Haha. It should probably be a little bit better about my naming conventions. It takes in a list ID and a string and a link. Both of them are strings. Zod is a verification library that helps me apply types to parameters like that. It gets the list by its ID, selecting only the GitHub users that's in that table. If there isn't a list, then I just return early from it. I check to see if this is setting in the list. I check to see, hey, does it already exist in the list? If it is, then return early. Else, I want you to take the current list, spread it over a new array, add the new link to that list, and then I want you to update the list with the ID by setting the GitHub users to the new updated list that we created here. And then I return that data for my own reference. And if I happen to find an error, then I just catch it and send it off. Reading, if I want to get a specific list, I will get that list's ID passed to me in the query. I then find that list by its ID. I get the GitHub users. If there isn't a list, I return early. Else, I return the GitHub users. Same error handling. If I want to delete a specific item, it's very similar to the last one. I just get the link that I want to delete and the ID. I get the list, and then I create an updated list that filters through the current list as long as the link that's in that list does not equal to the link that I passed in. Then it gets to stay, and then I update that with the new filtered list. If I wanted to update a list item, I basically query against the list again, get the list, and then I set it to whatever the new title and the description is. Inside Prisma allows you to do this. It's honestly one of the best like ORM tools that I've ever used. So I would 100% recommend it for your next project. This one gets all lists, so I find all the lists that are tied to a specific user ID, and I return 3 values: the ID, the title, and the description of that list. That's how I use to build the list component. I create a list by creating a unique one, passing in the title, the user ID, and the description, which I have set as a default to that because I didn't want to have to code another text area for people to type in long descriptions. And then I return that list. And then in order to delete the lists, I get the list ID that passed to me in a mutation and then select it by that ID and delete it using Prisma. So it's super cool. That should be it. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Slack. I get user data from GitHub by doing essentially a username query. I also save the URL of that user so that I can then get it again when I load the lists up using Axios again. But yeah, that should be it.